Welcome on to the Tortillas and Takes podcast. You are on once again with your boy, Albie Shore, and I was in Lubbock. Got a chance to watch the game, watch basketball and football. It was a good old time, and to talk about my good time is my good friend, that is the people's champion himself, Jeremy Gillen. Are we not good friends? Hold on, what's with the face?
No, you led into that. Hey, talk about my good times. Here comes Jeremy Gillen. No, I wanted to give a little specific shout out to the surprisingly large amount of med students that listen to this podcast. This is not the first time that my wife's been approached by a student asking if she knew who Jeremy Gillen was, if we were related, if she knew that I did a podcast. Yes, I am in my home. So yeah, man, if you're out there studying med school, orthopedics, I think is kind of our niche where we have the most followers. Hey, friends of the pod, thank you for doing what you do. Please study harder. We need better doctors out there in the field. But yeah.
And I'm sure she's very annoyed. Like the one time I can get away from Jeremy.
Here I come, roaring back.
The "are you related" is hilarious. Like, oh, is he your cousin? Or...
That's right. It's like, oh, you know Jeremy?
Yeah.
How do you know Jeremy?
Yeah. It's cousins, or it's a long lost. What's going on here? Like, oh. Yeah. So med students, good job. Go out there and study.
Good job, good effort.
Good job, good effort to UCF. Because
that's right,
brother. It's it's funny because I actually, after the game, I was at the game, and so I wasn't as much on the timeline outside of sending off a few tweets here and there, and honestly, everybody complains about the reception in the stadium. Wasn't terrible. It was better than I remember.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was able to get some tweets off. You know what I mean? It wasn't terrible. But it wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible. But after the game, I went back and looked at some of the tweets, and I especially looked back at our UCF friends' tweets. And buddy, we scored a minute in the game, and they were like, "All right." They're like, pack it up.
It took them 1 minute.
I was like, "What?" And apparently, it hadn't. I guess the game hadn't switched over on Fox yet. So
no, it had not. I was stuck watching the dumb end of the Michigan, Northwestern State game.
Yeah,
they kicked the field goal. Yay, we won! And then it was like, let's stay on the field to talk to everybody. I'm like, how about you cut away to some real action?
Well, okay. To be fair, in Fox's defense, right? An exciting game, Michigan Northwestern, Wrigley Field, or a game at the time where Texas Tech was up 14-0, and it was looking like a blowout in every sense of the word.
Hey.
So
I want to watch my Red Raiders, man.
I get Texas Tech fans being upset about it, but I also understand Fox's decision of, well, this game already looks like a blowout. Let's stay where we're at and get to the vibes.
Listen.
But UCF, like Trace and some of the guys that were there, or at least able to watch the game, in its beginning, were like, yeah, let's back it up. And they should have. I found it interesting. UCF's, so the decision to defer to the second half is a very popular one. Because obviously if you get a score at the end of the first half, you get the ball back, you score again. But I actually, funny enough, coming into this game, I thought that actually was advantageous for Tech to get the ball first, right? Because if Tech gets the ball first, then we can just smack them in the mouth real quick and not even make this a game. That's exactly what happened. I mean, you get the ball first, a minute, 3 seconds in, we score, in large part to the big, nice pass, Barrymore into Reggie Virgil on the sideline that goes 40 yards, and then right after that, Cam Dickey runs in it for 12. And just like that, a minute in, the game is seemingly over. Jeremy, I mean, that's what it felt like. Right from there, I was like, well, I mean, the whole reason I went to this game was I wanted to take my kids to a game that was easy and simple, and it's going to be a nice, stress-free victory. And I think Joey knew this. So he made it a nice, stress-free victory. There was not at any point in time there was even a fear whatsoever within this game. The whole first quarter was, UCF didn't get a first down till midway through the second quarter. Didn't get a first down. They started out the game with 4 straight 3-and-outs. Like I mentioned, Texas Tech scored a touchdown in the first minute. Second touchdown, second drive happened, and that drive, I think, took 2 minutes. So they decided, hey, this time we're going to relax and slow it down and take 2 minutes to score instead of 1. And within the first 5 minutes, it's 14-0. They haven't even switched it over from Fox, and it's all hunky-dory.
Well, I mean, what would you believe if I told you UCF prior to this game had the 17th ranked total defense in the country?
Well, I believe you because we talked about it in the preview pod, but
I mean, 21-0 at that point in the game, I totally forgot who we talked about that was good on their defense because it was like, it's really not panning out for them.
We get that touchdown to begin the second quarter. It's 21-0.
See ya. Most impressive thing about this game, early on especially, Mac Leftwich dialing up some fun stuff in the red zone, figuring out some different ways we can get touchdowns in the red zone. Felt good. Felt like he listened to committee's criticism of Texas Tech, the playoff committee's criticisms of Texas Tech, and said, okay, I have to be better at my job, and acted accordingly. And then we only get to see, Baron Morton for, not even a half. Yeah. Not even a half of football. And then we get our boy Mitch Griffiths, who had himself a day.
Well, I'm okay with the decision to pull Baron Morton. He's still hurt, right? Let's not make mistakes about it. He's still hurt. He was he had limited practice during this week, so he's still hurt. And so, but I will say one thing that, to your point, the red zone was great every time we entered the red zone, and it's not a bad defense either, right? This is not a bad defense either. It is UCF, so you take it a grain of salt, but it's not a bad defense. And the fact that we were able, we had talked about it before. We had talked about with Cumbie, the Donovan Smith packages. We had talked about before with the packages last year with our tight end that we were able to use in these short distance situations, and we had to do something. Well, the Cam Dickey package seems to have worked. Not just the Cam Dickey package, but also the Reggie Virgil. Not yet. The Reggie Virgil sweeps. Both of them work really beautiful. Yeah. Okay, I thought you were going to talk about the other package.
No.
Pause.
That's the surprise. A pause. Double pause. No, the Reggie Virgil sweep. That was exactly what I was going to say that this is a creative way to emphasize, Reggie Virgil has a lot of speed and a lot of top speed, and utilizing this. I mean, we haven't touched sweeps at all this season, but to kind of switch it up in the red zone when you're thinking, okay, I'd love to get my skill guys the ball, but passing has kind of been disastrous for me. What can I do? Instead of screens, let's bring the guy around, and worked beautifully. And like we're saying, and I had to come, and that's why I brought up the defense not being bad again, is that people are looking at this game being like, well, it's it was UCF, so it's whatever. They were 4-5, they were 1-5 in the Big 12, and not that great. Actually, defensively, they've done a pretty good job this season. For them to hold teams that they held to the yardage that they did, and especially out of the red zone, they did a pretty good job. Texas Tech putting up about 500 yards of offense on this team and being efficient in the red zone is definitely a kudos to this coaching staff for strategically dialing up the appropriate plays needed to attack UCF's strength.
Well, and so not only that, it's not even just for what the committee said also, but it's right now the only weakness that we see on this team. The weakness we see on this team is that we have not been able to convert. This game we converted, and the score showed that. It's 35-0 midway through the second quarter, right? Other games, even the BYU game, where for most accounts everybody looked at it as a blowout, we settled for a lot of field goals, right? And in other scenarios, instead of it being 35-0, we've seen it in a scenario where it would have been 19-0. And we still scored the same amount of points, but scored on the same amount of drives, but settling for field goals instead of touchdowns, right? We've done that. 19-0 has legitimately been a score, which is 4 field goals and a touchdown. Instead, in this game against UCF, it was 5 touchdowns. because of our ability to to make things happen. And then, like you mentioned, after 5 touchdowns, it's all right, Baron, you can rest. We'll see you in Valhalla. So one other thing, Jacob Rodriguez lining up a quarterback, them saying we leave in here with something.
That's exactly right.
You know, all these quarterbacks can talk about for Heisman. We're going to put him in at quarterback for Heisman. That's what Joey McGuire said after the game. And he hits the Heisman pose, right? Shameless plugging him for Heisman, and I'm not mad at it. Let me tell you something. I am okay with that. All right. I'm okay if you just put Jacob Rodriguez in for all of your red zone 2 yardage, short yardage packages. I am perfectly fine with that. Right. But I do respect not only did he do that, right? He still got an interception. So it's not like it's just all gimmicks. He's still the best player in the country, right?
Yeah.
He still went out and said, give me that. Right. And apparently it's right when Joey McGuire said, hey, we need it. We need it back. And he still got that interception. Absolutely incredible that he's having himself a great year. I looked it up. He is 4 turnovers away from setting the record for most turnovers caused in a season. Still 4 forced fumbles away from setting a record there as well. So if he gets 4 forced fumbles in the next 2 games, because we are going to have 2 more games, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. He sets not the Texas Tech record, which he's 1 forced fumble away from tying Darius Slay for the Texas Tech record. Darius Slay right now is 3rd all time in forced fumbles ever. So he's 1 away from that. Not the Big 12 record, the NCAA record for turnovers and forced fumbles in a season. Jacob Rodriguez is within sniffing distance. 4th interception on the year. He already has 7 forced fumbles. He is, when you compare him to Manti Te'o's Heisman runner-up season, he's blowing Manti out of the water. He's up on Manti in almost every metric and almost every statistic. The only one I think he's not is interceptions. And now with the 4th interception, he's not far away from that one either. It's and Manti, Notre Dame that year was, I think, the number 3 defense in the country. Guess what? Right now, we're number 2. And actually, according to ESPN's stop rate analysis, we're number 1. We're just number 2 in points per drive and points per game.
Yeah, you're shaking it up between you and Ohio State for who has the better defense, and both kind of do things differently.
Yeah,
absolutely. So there is no argument to me that Jacob Rodriguez shouldn't be in New York, because the shine of the trophy, like that, the allure of the Heisman Trophy is that these are athletes that are exemplary, athletes. These are people that illustrate a much more I don't know a really good word for it. Like it's almost an indescribable talent ability at your position. And Chris Fowler was actually talking about it. I think after game day last, in Lubbock, there's a video of him talking about, what does Jacob Rodriguez have to do in order to be a legitimate Heisman contender? Now, defensively, he has to create spectacular plays. He has to be able to produce a level of play that makes people go, wow, this kid is good, right? Because at the other end, the disadvantage for defensive players is that they don't get to put a bunch of yardage up. They don't get to put these big numbers up. Their numbers are so much smaller on the stat sheet that it's like, 7 forced fumbles. I mean, how hard? It's not even 1 a game, like how hard even is that, right? Whereas like quarterbacks, running backs, their stats get padded every week and they get to thousands, right? We were looking at thousands of yards and you're like, oh my God, like this kid's good. Like look how many thousands of yards, or they get like the game-winning touchdown, right? Indiana, right? So the difficulty of this award is that when you're shaking it up between offensive and defensive players have to do so much extra in order to be considered an equal level of talent. Whereas I'm like, Jacob Rodriguez as a football player is a freak athlete, and he has proven it this season. No doubt in my mind he should be in New York. Does that mean he has to win it? No. But I'm like, how do you keep a guy like that who is so close to breaking NCAA records, who's putting Texas Tech's defense, helping put Texas Tech's defense on the map? Shout out to David Bailey as well. But like, how do you keep a guy like that from being in New York? Who are you going to put in over him? Everybody else in the class is really just kind of above average. And if any of them won, each one is going to have like this is the lowest yards since X, or like this is the lowest whatever since X. And it's like, that's a very disappointing Heisman winner for me, even with, and I lamented like, okay, even Travis Hunter was like, I wish, we could have went a different direction, but Travis Hunter played two positions. That's something nobody does anymore.
Well, he was also elite at two positions too.
Sure.
That's another piece there. But to your point, if Travis Hunter was just a receiver or just a corner, he doesn't win the Heisman. Right. And so I do think to that essence, you're very much, and we were going to have this segment anyway. We're already here. Let's just do it. Talking about Jacob Rodriguez and the Heisman. And actually, I know you're saying to get in New York. I say, why not? Why can't he win it? Because look at this. How you measure up, to your point, right? We're talking about thousands of yards and tens of touchdowns, right? We're talking about a lot, high number of things, right? However, where Jacob Rodriguez shines and others falter is when you compare him to his current peers and his historical peers. If you compare, so right now, the favorites for the award are Fernando Mendoza, Haynes King, or Fernando Mendoza from Indiana, Haynes King from Georgia Tech, Ty Simpson from Alabama, Julian Sayin from Ohio State. All right. Those are probably the four favorites if I had to, put my Trinidad Chambliss has a shot at it, Marcel Reed has a shot at it, but those are probably the four favorites as far as from the quarterback side, right? Jeremy, do you know none of those guys are even top 10 in passing yards this year? This year alone, none of them are top 10. Are the four guys I just mentioned. None of them are top 10. Actually, if you include Trinidad Chambliss and Marcel Reed, none of those six guys are top 10 in passing yards this season. Not historically, this season. Then you get to touchdowns. So now Fernando Mendoza does lead the country in touchdowns. Julian with 30. Julian Sayin is tied for third. He has 25. Ty Simpson is tied for ninth with 22, as well as Marcel Reed. Mind you, Sawyer Robertson is actually having a season. The same Sawyer Robertson that has 9 interceptions on the year, mind you, is having a season that statistically is better than almost everybody we've talked about. Right. But Sawyer, the only caveat is those 9 interceptions ain't great. But he has second in the country in touchdowns, leads the country in passing yards, right? But his team isn't good, and he has an interception problem. But that's it. Now, when you put it, that's for the current peers. When you put it in historical context, oh, it's terrible. I saw a clip the other day that was saying that if Mendoza wins the Heisman, he would have the least yards since Cam Newton. But here's the issue: Cam Newton also had a crap ton of rushing yards and a crap ton of touchdowns. Then you compare him against Tebow passing, like, okay, but Tebow had a crap ton of touchdowns rushing and a crap ton of yards rushing. Usually, when the passing numbers are like Mendoza's or like Sayans or Simpsons or King's not even like King is so far low on this chart that it's incredible. I'm seeing him. He's like second in odds for the Heisman, and I'm like, how? He just had his first 400-yard passing game the other day against NC State, and he's only had 3 300-yard passing games. How is Haynes King even in this conversation? And I get it; it's an unorthodox school. Georgia Tech is. I don't have Georgia Tech making the college football playoff. I don't think they're going to win the ACC, and it's going to take Haynes King to out of the conversation. But let's even compare them to Cam Ward, Cam Ward wasn't even a finalist last year. Last year, Cam Ward was better. Just last year, Cam Ward had better passing yards, more touchdowns, better season. Miami had a better season than a lot of these than Haynes King or Ty Simpson's having just last year. And it wasn't even invited to New York, but these are the guys. So this is already not a good Heisman season. I do think it's going to go to Fernando Mendoza, but it's not a good Heisman season. So then you compare it to Jacob Rodriguez, right? So let's go on the defensive side of things, right? Jacob Rodriguez, right now he's tied for 9th in interceptions. He's actually only one off the nation lead for interceptions. He's a linebacker. He's one away from the nation's lead in interceptions, and he is a linebacker. He leads all linebackers in interceptions currently. And that'd be incredible, an incredible feat if he also didn't lead the country in forced fumbles, Jeremy.
Mm.
And it's not close. Mind you, I also want to say it's not close. There's not a close second. There's not somebody else that you're like, oh, he's one. No. He leads the country in forced fumbles, and there's not a close second. He is 4 off so that's with his peers, right? Again, just with his peers, he's actually, I said it's not a close second. Red Murdoch, who actually right now has the career lead in forced fumbles, is a close second. Red Murdoch from Buffalo. He actually just passed, name escapes me, Khalil Mack. He actually just passed Khalil Mack, who also went to Buffalo for career in forced fumbles. Shout out to Red Murdoch. But outside of them two, it's just them two. So then you say, okay, well, he can't have that many tackles, right? 97 tackles on the year. He's going to have 100 tackles. He's top 20 in tackles this year, top 15 tackles this year. So you combine tackles with interceptions, with forced fumbles. It's amazing. That's just for this year alone. Then he gets to historical peers. And I was telling you pre-pod, comparing him to Manti Te'o. He beats Manti Te'o in everything, in every metric. The only one he doesn't beat him is in interceptions because Manti Te'o had a lot of interceptions that year. And now with his 4th interception against UCF, he's catching up to that too. More tackles than Manti Te'o had at this point. Way more forced fumbles than Manti Te'o had at this point. More turnovers in general once you combine forced fumbles and interceptions together at this point. Then, as leader of the defense, Texas Tech's defense right now is trending better than Notre Dame's defense did, right? And we're going to also win a conference championship, which Notre Dame is not able to do, and sucks to suck. And Manti Te'o was a runner-up in the Heisman. And mind you, that year was also a weak Heisman year. I was somebody that thought Manti deserved the Heisman. I thought that Notre Dame team was better than A&M. That was the year that Johnny Manziel won it. Notre Dame was better than A&M. He was leading one of the top defenses. He had earned it, in my opinion. If I was a Heisman voter, I would have given it to Manti Te'o that year. And what was a weak Heisman year. This is a weak Heisman year. And you have a guy that's having a better season than Manti Te'o did that year. And let's face it, outside of Indiana being a much better team than A&M is, Fernando Mendoza is not having the season that Johnny Manziel had. So if you tell me forget getting to New York, more and more, I'm saying, man, Jacob Rodriguez might need to win the award, right? Texas Tech scored a touchdown in the second half with, and I was telling Caleb Douglas this when I talked to him after the game, that we wanted to see Jacob Rodriguez and they're running back again. That's right. Hey, shout out to Cam. I'm glad you got your TD, but I wanted to see it again. Give him the second touchdown, whatever it takes, because right now they ain't listening. The more I see more lists that doesn't include Jacob Rodriguez, I'm like, it's getting ridiculous. At first it's a cute little thing. Now it's serious. Now it's like, no. Forget the gimmicks of him at quarterback. He got an interception in this game. He got another. It was another game where he was one of the team leaders in tackles. Right. It was another game where he's all over the place. Right. 9 tackles in this game in general, and every time you see him on film, he's right there. So, man, forget the cute stuff. Jacob Rodriguez is the best player in the sport.
That's what I'm thinking. A Heisman level player, if there ever was one. So I don't know. Be hard to beat Fernando Mendoza, but I think that Jacob Rodriguez is probably making the most compelling argument for it, right? Especially when you talk about elevating a team and elevating, the level of their position. So I don't know. We'll see. Again, man, I'd love for a Texas Tech defensive player to win the Heisman for 1,001 reasons.
Oh my God, that'd be incredible.
That would wash away every sin of the past 2010s. Let me tell you that much.
It's a lot of sense.
Well, defensively, but having him in New York is enough for me because I think first of all, the exposure, they're going to talk about him a lot more. I think that's a really powerful thing. Jacob Rodriguez has done everything to deserve every bit of accolade that he's going to get in this season and after. And I think that, having that ability to represent Texas Tech as well, and he's a great representative of Texas Tech, why not New York? So, but we'll see how dumb voters do what they do and screw everything up and blah, blah, blah. If we go get a natty, then who cares?
That's true. That's true. Bryce Ramirez forced and recovered a fumble in the second half. Bryce Ramirez came in relief for Jacob Rodriguez. And a part of me was like, can we just give it to Jacob? He's his backup. Let Jacob have it. But I do want to give a shout out in this game. Both Bryce Ramirez and Reggie. Now, Reggie Virgil may actually come back this year. Quick aside, Jeremy, we will never know how many years players have anymore.
I don't.
I thought this was the first year we'd understand and be like, we were done with the COVID years. We're not, apparently. Reggie Virgil has a COVID year. So he could still come back next year. Bryce Ramirez, I do not believe can. I don't think so. I don't know for sure, to be honest with y'all, but I don't think so. But if this is his last game for Bryce Ramirez, a shout out. A great representative. Talk about representative. This is a guy that we saw get destroyed on the field and out for the whole year and still kept his spirits up. And for him to get a forced fumble and fumble recovery on senior day has to feel great. Reggie Virgil, 3 touchdowns on the day. He was amazing. Baron Morton, his senior day as well. I mean, he came out at the end of the second quarter, but 14 for 20, 149 yards and a touchdown in 25 minutes of work. That'll do it. And then your boy Mitch Griffiths.
Hey,
your boy Mitch
construction worker himself.
Hey man, coming in like Brady, boy. And mind you, they took away another touchdown. They took away some of his stats multiple times.
They did,
right? And so he had 145 yards. Cam Dickey, 11 carries, 77 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Hey, Cam is back. He's league leader in rushing yards. Like I mentioned with Reggie Virgil, has 3 touchdowns. Jacoby Williams, 7 carries for 45 yards himself. Caleb Douglas, 5 catches for 90 yards. Tristan Gentry, 2 catches for 33 yards. Tristan Gentry, man, I really love what I'm seeing from Tristan Gentry when he comes in relief. His second half I thought was really nice. Both catches were really good. Runs routes crisp. There's a slot receiver that kind of looks like a scat back, but plays like a quality receiver. We've been talking about guys like Valson and Micah Hudson getting more burn for whatever reason they still haven't. But Gentry's another guy you put in the mix because he's, especially when Griffiths comes in, him and Griffiths got a connection that works out well in this game. Defensively, Rodriguez, like I said, 9 tackles. Cole Wisniewski, another great game from Cole. Man, he's been on a tear. Cole Wisniewski playing really great. Ben Roberts, 5 tackles as well as the TFL. Romello Height, 4 tackles and a sack. John Curry, 4 tackles and a sack. Jaden Cofield, 3 tackles and a sack. Duda Banks, 3 tackles and a sack in his senior day. David Bailey, of course, 3 tackles and a sack in his senior day. And so all in all, great game. A lot of burn in this game. A lot of guys got a lot of burn in this game. And so, yeah, team played really well. I am, however, Jeremy, and maybe this should be a segment we do on this episode. Before we get to the players of the game, it is time for me to be an Albie Downer, a Debbie Downer, Albie Downer. I'm gonna talk about the one issue I saw in this game. The one. 9 penalties for 72 yards, Jeremy.
You want to call out a singular person on foolish penalties? Yeah, the penalties in this one were bad.
You're talking about Howard Sampson?
I'm talking about Howard Sampson. God, man. Why holding in the end zone? Why?
Well, that wasn't his only holding call. He had a second one.
I know, but that
took away the Mitch Griffiths touchdown. That's 9 points. That's 9 points. That's 9 points, man. Or technically 6 because we did kick a field goal, but still,
yeah,
that's 6 additional points that were wiped off the board. And it's not just him, to be fair. There was other penalties in this game as well. We do not like we have more penalties than most great teams have. You know what I mean? And that's, to me, is a bit of an issue. And especially
how much better we could be if we didn't penalize ourselves so much.
Yeah. No, seriously. I mean, it is, the heights that we want to go as a team, we got to get rid of it. We cannot continue to live this way. We cannot continue to live this way when there are things that we want to accomplish. The penalties it's got to stop. I envision a time, Jeremy. I envision this. Texas Tech is we're at the Cotton Bowl. 5th ranked Texas Tech plays 4th ranked Texas A&M, and that means I'm predicting an A&M loss here coming up. But 5th ranked Texas Tech plays 4th ranked A&M. We're in the Cotton Bowl. It is half maroon, half red, which really looks ugly next to each other, by the way. But that's neither here nor there. Texas Tech is up in the game 24-21. Right? They're trying to seal it. They're trying to win this game. Baron Morton goes on a third and 15. Baron Morton drops back, lays a beautiful ball to Caleb Douglas on the sideline, and it is now A&M has wasted all their timeouts. They can't stop it. We're gonna kneel this thing out. But wait, Jeremy, holding number 79, Texas Tech.
But wait,
and we have to punt the ball back. And they have 1 minute 30 seconds left to go in the game. Marcel Reed leads them down, and we ended up losing. That's what I see, Jeremy.
Yeah,
that is what I see. Right.
That's how. So we haven't really felt that effect in this because we have such a good team that the Big 12's been. I mean, we spotted a lot of teams about a football field worth of penalties. But you're very right. As soon as we enter into the playoff, you're playing teams that have a lot better offenses, have a lot better complete teams than we've played so far. You got teams that are like, they're supposed to be SEC, and you're going to let them look SEC if you spot them, free turnovers. So it's like that kind of stuff you are so right. It absolutely has to get cleaned up before West Virginia, in my hope. But certainly before the Big 12 championship, and certainly before the first appearance in the college football playoff. Yeah. Looking at you, 79.
Yeah, gotta clean it up. You gotta clean it up. So that's really my only problem. I think everything else was great. I think the team played really well. We were actually not too far, 2 plays away from a shutout, right? That safety and then a touchdown later on in the game. And offense. I could argue this was the best game they've played all year. The most, consistent, the ability to continue to move down. I mean, Mitch Griffith's coming in looking crazy. We scored 48 and probably should have scored more if it wasn't for those penalties. So all in all, and actually I said maybe. No, I'm going to say this was the best game the offense has played all year. And that means we're clicking at the right time, right, as we head into the bye week there. So, Jeremy, who is your offensive player of the game?
Mitch Griffiths. No, it's Cam Dickey. I think Cam Dickey's really stepped into. And the really funny thing about this, like Big 12 leading Big 12, I believe LJ Martin is supposed to be the leader of the Big 12, but the way that we stopped them just ruined his stats that game. Cam Dickey was just able to scoot on by and now kind of keep a nice little cushion between him and LJ Martin. So Cam Dickey this game, man. I just continuing to be the running back that we needed him to be this year. After Quentin Joyner ended up going down, it's a no-brainer for me.
Yeah, some BYU fans may say, "Oh, well, LJ Martin was hurt, yada yada yada." I mean, they actually have LJ Martin only has 5 less carries than Cam Dickey.
Yeah.
So
I wrestle with that math.
Yeah, and then the fact here's another piece is that Texas Tech is actually. I'm going to make sure I'm going to say it before I say this that I'm saying it correctly. I believe this is true. The only team that has 2 rushers in the top 10 in rushing. Jacoby Williams right now is 9th in the conference in rushing, and Cam Dickey's 1st. So pretty amazing.
Pretty good.
Pretty good. And so yeah, then also a top 10 passer in Baron Morton who missed 2 games. So yeah. Absolutely great. People may be surprised to know that Baron Morton actually leads the conference in passer rating. Remember that guy that everybody for the first half of the season thought that, Texas Tech won't be any good because of Baron Morton. Baron Morton, the guy that leads the conference in passing yards per game and has the best passer rating in the conference. And
that's
the
right.
guy that is, he's going to be Texas Tech's downfall. Yeah. The guy that's like statistically better than 99% of the quarterbacks in the country, 95% of the quarterbacks in the country, it's going to be their downfall. Yep.
Fools.
Sounds asinine.
For sure.
Like, oh man, Baron Morton, he doesn't run around for 50 yards before he launches a 60-yard bomb like Pat Mahomes did, so he must suck.
This guy stinks. Yeah.
This guy must stink. Yeah, it's asinine. My guy is Reggie Virgil. 3 touchdowns in the game. Both time he touched the ball on sweep, scored. So 2 carries for 35 yards. All right, cool. Those 2 carries for 39 yards, as well as him catching the ball. That 40-yard catch on the sideline, and then of course making that touchdown catch later on that looked beautiful. Reggie Virgil had himself. If he doesn't come back, listen, That was a great last senior day in the Jones. So
Sure
good
was.
on you for Reggie Virgil. He's another one that talked about how, man, it sucks that I wasn't here earlier. It sucks that I wasn't here sooner. And again, I think a big reason for that is these guys see in just a 1 year the amount, but like how much better they've gotten, right? I see guys like Romello Height and Lee Hunter and Reggie Virgil and guys just immensely have gotten better just in this short time. I'm excited to see what happens with Quentin Joyner when he comes back from injury, right? And Skylar Good Howard when he comes back from injury, right? Like the amount of just the improvement these guys have had from their area. You know, it's funny. Everybody talking about how much money we spent. I recently looked back at an article, or not even an article, it was a comment on Twitter about Texas Tech spent all this money in a weak transfer class. That the transfers that we got weren't that good. It was a weak transfer class, and this, that, and the other. And so now obviously the switch up is here that, of course Texas Tech is going to be good because we spent this money. Of course, right? Never the fact that some people had predicted us to finish 6th or 7th in the conference. Never the fact that we were actually not the favorite to win the Big 12. I don't even know if we were the favorite to get to the Big 12 title game, right? Never mind that. It's all the money. Never the fact that Texas Tech actually, outside of David Bailey, didn't money whip most of these guys. Like David Bailey and Howard Sampson, they were money whipped. I'm not going to like they won. Almost every other player we went out and got had higher offers elsewhere. Mm-hmm. Almost every other player. Lee Hunter, you talked about it before. Lee Hunter was reflecting on it. And the fact that Texas was at the airport waiting for him. Right? At the airport, like, hey, here's more money. Right? But they chose here. They chose this. Reggie Virgil, one of our first commits. This is before even he was like, hey man, I like what y'all doing here. I'm in.
That's right.
So it's everybody's talking about money whipping, but not getting to the specifics. And also James Blanchard will say, we didn't just go out and look at the ESPN rankings of top transfer guys and throw money at it. We said, what guys fit? What guys make sense? And what area do we need to attack? If y'all listened to us last year, you know we talked about how bad the D-line was last year. D-line was abysmal last year. The D-line, if you ask me, was the difference between us in going to the Big 12 championship game or not. That's how bad the D-line was last year, in my opinion.
Very clearly, yeah.
Yeah, and then you look and they said, we got to get better there. So when it comes to the money spent, you know, we didn't buy full position coach. We bought one. We said D-line got to change. We bought one. The D-line's brand new. I ain't going to hold you. They're okay, cool, right? But everywhere else, no, man. And even AJ Holmes couldn't come for money. He came for the D coordinator. Say, hey, Shield, I like you. I like you. I want to follow you. So, speaking of AJ Holmes and the defense, who's your defensive player of the
game? That is not Jacob Rodriguez would be. You know, I was asked to give a shout out, and for good reason, but I think Lee Hunter is not getting enough love because what Lee Hunter does for the interior part of the defensive line is what makes the rest of our guys so good. His ability just to block everything up his gap, amazing. So I like, Lee Hunter did a really good job. That he's just not got enough praise from me this season, and I agreed that I would shout him out, so I did.
I really got to stop letting you go first. Because I was going to say the same. I was going to say the same. Yeah. I mean, Jacob Rodriguez and Cole Wisniewski, we've talked about them. I mean,
yeah.
Jacob all year, Cole, especially the last month. Man, Lee Hunter, it had to feel good getting that sack to start the game. Or that TFL to start the game. Oh, that had to feel great. And let's not, like, UCF fans, they were, they felt the type of way about Lee. Let's be honest. They felt the type of way about Lee. This wasn't one of those, hey, good job. We liked what you did. Happy for you. Just that.
Go be great.
No, it wasn't none of that. And I'm not even I get it, right? When you transfer in conference, gloves are off. So I'm not going to act like I wouldn't also feel the type of way about Lee Hunter transferring in conference. So I get it. However, Lee got it. I'm sure he felt the type of way, and I'm sure he desperately wanted to wreak some havoc in this game. He did it early. And so, and he did play a really good game. Unfortunately, he also did get a penalty later in the game, but that's neither here nor there. But he did play really well in this game, plugging up the middle. He is also another guy that's rising up draft boards that didn't have as much draft love beforehand. One of the reasons why he came to Tech, in my opinion, was to rise up draft boards, and he's doing it. He's known as one of the best D tackles in the draft. Good chance he goes in day 2. Definitely going to get drafted, in my opinion. And so, yeah, absolutely. Lee Hunter has absolutely had a great game. My only complaint about Lee Hunter is I wish he had a D tackle number. Number 2 looks weird. It looks weird. I ain't gonna lie to you, Lee. Number 2 looks weird. 92 would have looked better. 72. When I was D tackle someplace, I was 72. So you want to be like me, Now I was a very small D tackle.
You're like me, Lee.
There was no reason why a 195 pound player should have been playing D tackle. I also played DN most of the time, which I was still small for that position. That was 91. You know what I'm saying? 91, Albie was DN. 72, Albie was D tackle. That's neither here nor there. So Lee, put a 7 in front of that too. That's my only complaint. There. Anything else you want to say about this game, Jeremy?
10. You have 10 wins. 10 wins. This was a good one. Such a good one. Felt good.
So you are correct. 10 wins. First 10-win season since 2008. So only other time the Texas Tech has, let me not get ahead of myself. We do still have one more game. The only other time that Texas Tech was ever had this record, or since in the 2000s, was 2008. So I believe this is the 4th time we've had 10 wins in a season in program history. So yeah, no, it's absolutely incredible season. Also, we were talking about Jacob Rodriguez and the Heisman. So the closest we've come to a Heisman, Michael Crabtree finished 5th in the Heisman way back when. Cliff Kingsbury I believe Cliff Kingsbury finished, I'm looking it up here. Cliff Kingsbury finished 9th in Heisman voting. It's kind of surprising. So Cliff Kingsbury finished 9th. Michael Crabtree finished 5th. Gotta be top 3. I just don't see it. Ty Simpson didn't play well this past weekend as they lost to Oklahoma. Julian Sand will likely be up there. Marcel Reed, depending on how they play in their championship games, we'll see. I'm predicting Marcel Reed to lose either against Texas. I'm predicting him to lose against Texas, to be honest. I think Texas will beat him. But if he doesn't lose to Texas, I think they're going to lose an SEC championship game, which will hurt him. And then it'll just be between Mendoza and Rodriguez. And honestly, I do think Mendoza is going to win it. I don't think he deserves it. And I think what we can do is maybe we can make Jacob Rodriguez the people's Heisman. Last year, Ashton Genty was the people's Heisman, even though I still don't agree. I do think Travis Hunter deserved it. But that's neither here nor there. The people's Heisman was Ashton Genty. Let's make Jacob Rodriguez the people's Heisman. Right?
That's right.
And bullying does work. So maybe we can bully the committee into some Heisman votes. All right, so Jeremy, let's do our Big 12 roundup as we round up this podcast. So as we know, Texas Tech beat UCF 48-9. Other games around the Big 12, BYU, the team that we whooped up on last week, came back to the friendly confines. And we talked about this game, and I actually thought coming into this game as they hosted TCU, that TCU might give them a scare. The TCU might be good enough to give them a scare. Jeremy, you were correct in that BYU Provo at night, baby. Can't beat it. BYU beat the brakes off of the Horned Frogs.
I mean, what do you say? BYU and Utah carrying the weight of making Texas Tech look that much better. That every other game they have gone out and just whipped, Utah especially. But BYU to respond to the loss against a good TCU team with you know what, I'm sick and tired of this. We deserve to be in the playoffs. we deserve to have that at-large bid if that's where we're going to be sitting. 44-13, crazy. Bear Bachmeier having a better game. I'm sure BYU fans just felt like so vindicated in that victory against TCU. Like, we are a good team, guys. We are a good team. See, Bear's great. Bear's a good quarterback. We had an off week. If we play Texas Tech again, we'll beat them.
See, you know what's funny? I don't think BYU fans feel that way. I didn't see a lot of that.
No,
that's
it's definitely
very
Utah fans.
Yeah, BYU fans are just like, we're just, hey, man.
You're like, hey.
I do feel one thing that does suck for BYU and the Big 12 in general. Oklahoma beating Alabama is actually not a good thing.
Yeah.
Because it now has Oklahoma leapfrog BYU and Utah into the college football playoff, which at the time they were not. Alabama's probably going to the SEC championship game, oddly enough. They actually have a better chance of getting in. Like, if we think about projections, they're projected at a better chance to get in than A&M and Georgia, shockingly enough, which is wild. Mostly because of they just have Auburn left, who doesn't have a coach. So Alabama's likely getting, and that means Alabama's likely getting the college football playoff either way. So now you have a fifth SEC team that makes their way in. And even if Alabama ends up losing the SEC championship game, I personally believe it is more likely that a 3-loss Alabama gets in ahead of a 2-loss BYU or a 2-loss Utah. So it is what it is. So, and then that would mean that the only chance of BYU to get multiple teams in is if Texas Tech loses in the Big 12 championship, which no, thank you.
No, thank you.
So yeah. So it kind of sucks, but you're right. BYU sent a message winning 44-13. Speaking of the Utah Utes, they went into Waco and probably were like, it's supposed to be a road game. But they won 55-28, another blowout against a team not named Texas Tech or BYU. And Devin Dampier didn't have to do much passing wise.
No.
Yeah. He didn't do much.
You know who did do a lot passing wise? Sawyer Robinson, almost 60 passes on the game. That's insane, dude.
I mean, what else?
That's insane. I know, but that's insane. Buddy's gonna have to get Tommy John surgery. But man, Utah crushing it. Utah. I think there's a legitimate case for. Besides that head-to-head, for Utah to look and say, we deserve to be in the college football playoff more than BYU does. Because for Utah, everybody that they've beat mightily. They lost the 2 games, right? And the head-to-head is what's going to ultimately decide that, if that comes down to it, which it probably won't because they hate the Big 12. But Utah has done more in dismantling teams offensively and defensively than BYU has.
But the head-to-head has to matter.
It does.
It has to matter. And the problem, you're right. I can't remember if I said this on the pod or not, but it reminds me a lot of TCU versus Baylor back in, what was that, 2014?
Right.
Where Baylor beat TCU. They had the same record, but TCU looked so much better than Baylor throughout the course of the season. Right? Like Utah, even if we compare the 2 games that Texas Tech played, Utah looked better against Tech than BYU did, right? But and Utah has looked better in every other game they've played than BYU has, but it doesn't matter. BYU won in Salt Lake City, right? So sorry, Utah, wins head-to-head has to matter. But you're right, Utah does look like the best team, and we talked about it when we were talking about it. I don't think Tech will lose to anybody. However, the team that I do think has the best shot at beating Tech, it is Utah. It's not BYU. It is Utah, in my opinion. So
interesting.
Yeah. Now, as far as the Baylor Bears, they're 5-5. A win against Utah really would have made Dave Aranda feel a little bit better. I think right now the only thing keeping Dave Aranda in is the fact that there's been a lot of firings this year, so you're not going to get the best. You're going to be pretty low on the totem pole. You may even be lower than Oklahoma State when it comes to openings. So, Dave, you got to win one of your last 2 games, dude. You got to get to a bowl. You got to win one of your last 2 games. You got at Arizona and against Houston. They're not easy games, but you got to win one of them. I don't know what to tell you. So, speaking of Arizona walked in to the NIP in Cincinnati. And I hope Cincinnati really enjoyed their CFP ranking because that thing is gone. Arizona beat Cincinnati 30-24. Shout out to Noah Fafita. I think he broke the record for most passing yards in a career at Arizona, cementing himself as one of the best players and quarterbacks in Arizona Wildcat history. Good win for the Cats.
I mean, what do you say? Noah Fafita is getting hot at the right time, and he's still got another year. Great news for Arizona fans. This one surprised me. I thought it was going to be colder, more miserable in Cincinnati, and it wasn't. And Arizona, kudos to them. I mean, Cincinnati getting up big, getting 2 scores there in the first quarter, easy to lay down and go, shoot, like whatever. But Arizona fighting back and fighting continuously, defensively especially, really shutting down Brendan Sorsby, really shutting down their running game and being able to weather the storm. Arizona getting you really hard-earned Big 12 victory that proves to me that all the games that have been close in, Arizona was just missing that one. There was one piece that they just weren't clicking. And so this is a great game for them. Top 25 victory. Good for you.
Yeah, I mean, in an alternate universe, Arizona's 9-1.
That's right.
That game
gets that's how they feel too.
BYU, yeah. No, an alternate universe 9-1, and right there for the Big 12 playoff. But it is a Big 12 championship game. But it is what it is. But yeah, overall though, I do think you're right. Arizona, a pretty good team there. West Virginia almost pulled off the upset in Tempe, but Arizona State, off of a strong third quarter and a good field goal at the end, was able to pull forward and win 25-23.
What do you say? West Virginia, I think you tweeted it. We were talking about, hey, West Virginia wins this game, then the game in Morgantown gets a little bit more dicey because then they are looking for bowl eligibility. It's at home, last game of the season. Those kind of games are the ones you have to really pay attention to. With West Virginia losing to Arizona State the way that they did, you got to feel like they're going to be pretty defeated come the last week of the season. So, man, don't hate it. I think Arizona State is proving to be pretty impressive in missing 2 of their big pieces that made them who they were. Being 7-3 in the season, 5-2 in the Big 12, after losing both Leavitt and Dyson, I think you've done a pretty good job. Kenny Dillingham is proven to be a good coach, and it's been really cool to see his effort for Tempe, of us, the community of Tempe, of hey, if you're in Tempe, if you've got these businesses, come out, trying to and the lack of connection here may lead to him leaving somewhere, but his effort to say listen, this is all of us together. So if you come in and buy in on this team, it's for everybody. It makes the community better. It makes everything better. And yeah, I like his coaching style. Hate that he beat us this year, but I think he's done a really good job with the pieces that he's had. West Virginia though, Scotty Fox Jr. still not a bad quarterback. It's going to be. He definitely could be the future for West Virginia. Their near future. So keep an eye on that.
Yeah. Well, so West Virginia has to be feeling good if you're a West Virginia fan. I think you're even ahead of schedule what you really thought you were going to be. Scotty Fox Jr. does seem to be the guy, even though he threw that game-losing interception at the end there. But yeah, if you're West Virginia, you're not going to go to a bowl game this year. You probably weren't expecting a bowl game anyway. But you got to kind of feel good about the team and how they ended the season. They looked like one of the worst teams in the Big 12, and then you have back-to-back wins, one a big upset win on the road against Houston, and almost 3 straight wins, right? And then I would have been not nervous because it's Texas Tech, but tough travel, tough area. Maybe it's closer than it should be. Now that they don't have as much to play for outside of it being senior day, so feel a little bit better about it. But yeah, got to be feeling better about this team and the direction you're going if you're a West Virginia fan. Arizona State still has a shot at going to the Big 12 championship game. Still has that. I would love
if they did.
I would love it too. I'm rooting for them too. I would love Arizona State to be in there.
Come on, Sun Devils.
It also probably mean that BYU has suffered another loss, and also probably means that the Big 12 only gets Texas Tech in. But as of right now, it looks like the Big 12 is only getting Texas Tech in to begin with, so it doesn't matter.
Here's my thing. We have done our job. We have won our games. If you can't win your games, convince the playoff committee, that's not on Texas Tech. That's on you. Yeah. I would love if we had 4 Big 12 teams in there. But if you can't win your games, then what the hell does it matter?
Yep. You're not wrong.
I ain't playing on cushy with the rest of the Big 12. This is our year. I ain't sharing this shit.
So Kenny Dillingham's actually an interesting situation. So there are two jobs that I think if it came open, he'd be perfect for. One is the Florida State job. He used to be an OC at Florida State for a couple of years while he was there. And he actually replaced Kendall Briles. But he was there for 2 and under Norvell. And so yeah. So that job comes open. He could replace Norvell. That makes sense. Another one, though, which I think he'd be a perfect fit for. I don't think it's coming open because, one, I don't think this coach is going to leave, and I don't think they're going to fire him because they've actually been hot as of late. But if USC was to come open for whatever reason, Kenny Dillingham, I think, would be great there. And who knows? Maybe he's holding out for that job. But I think Kenny Dillingham and USC is a match made in heaven.
Are people saying Lincoln Riley is kind of pegged for another job?
I heard a rumor that Lincoln Riley's pegged for the tech job if it came open, and I'm like, no, thank you.
See you, offensive coordinator, maybe.
Yeah, but I mean, I could see an NFL OC. That makes sense to me.
Sure.
But yeah, I think that was again. I think that was from like a month ago when it looked like USC was in the gutter, but they've kind of climbed themselves back up out of there. So I think they'll be fine there. But at one job that is open, that I think does make some sense for Kenny Dillingham. They're going to have the money to pony up if they want to, and he actually coached there before. Auburn.
Oh, wow.
That makes sense to me. He was an OC there for a year. Kenny Dillingham to Auburn makes sense. They'd have the dough for it. Would he be willing to do that? Maybe. All right. That'd be the type of job you'd leave your alma mater for. So maybe. I don't think anybody else would hire Kenny Dillingham, but Auburn to me makes a lot of sense. Overall. So there's that. Unfortunately, Jeremy, as a Big 12 pod, we got to talk about all the Big 12 games. And that includes Kansas State playing at Oklahoma State. If you watch this game, was this the TNT game of the week? I hope not. I think it might have been.
I think it was.
I'm sorry, Mike Golick Jr. and team. Oh, brother. This was just a terrible game to watch. And luckily I didn't watch too much of it. I did not watch too much of it, but it just K-State forced 5 turnovers because as I saw an Oklahoma State fan say, it might have I don't know exactly who said it, but Zane Flores might be the worst quarterback in Oklahoma State history. This team, I mean, Zane Flores himself committed 4 turnovers himself. And so this is just a really bad team. But Kansas State, man, we know Oklahoma State is bad. We know that. It's not a question that they're bad. Kansas State, y'all don't care. You have Oklahoma State fans making fun of you.
Yeah.
And Chris Kleiman talking about, hey, I'm not going to apologize for winning here. It's hard to win here. Yeah. It's so hard that everybody's done it. Everybody the last 2 years has done it. It's not, can't be that hard. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not a good team. And so K-State being 10 games into the season and not bowl eligible is not the season they thought they would have. And then guess what, Jeremy? They get to go to Utah next week.
Yep. That'll be something. Yeah, just a terrible game from Kansas State. Oklahoma State, you were so close. If you could have done one good offensive thing, you could have made it happen. But truly, I mean, Avery Johnson being a disappointment in this game, both in the passing and the rushing. I mean, Joe Jackson was non-existent. Antonio Martin Jr. was non-existent. Just really no good, nothing good for going for the Wildcats right now. And that's got to feel pretty bad for a team that was pegged to be a contender for the Big 12 title this season. So, I don't know. What do you say?
They're this year's Utah. Every year we're just going to have a team that we think is going to be the best in the Big 12 that just flames out. They just craps the bed. The last year was Utah. This year's K-State. So, yeah, really just they got the win, but at what cost? Is what it felt like. All right. So last but not least, if we talk about the lounge is skinning up a bit. The Big 12 title lounge. It's skinnying up a bit. As we know, Texas Tech's in the VIP. They're with the national title contenders. BYU, not a national title contender anymore, but still in the Big 12 title lounge. Utah's still there. I think Arizona State's still there, and Houston's still there. Is Cincinnati still in the lounge, or is it time to kick them out? They only have 2 losses, Jeremy.
They only have 2 losses, but losses they were. I would say no. I would say not, because their next game is against BYU. So it's a time for, if Cincinnati is able to pull it out against BYU, then I would feel silly for kicking them out of the lounge, right? But if they get beat up by BYU, then that'll be easier for me to go, hey, you ain't fit to be here.
All right, well, Cincinnati, go sit by the door. Go sit by the door. That's right. We this is temporary access.
The bouncer is ready.
The bouncer's ready. But teams, so Cincinnati might be getting kicked out of the lounge here pretty soon. As we kind of look ahead to next week, and we are going to talk about the Big 12 in the preview podcast. But as we kind of think about next week here, some other big games. Houston at home against TCU. That has an opportunity to have them kicked out of the lounge. Utah's home against Kansas State, but after what we saw from Kansas State, that's not going to be a problem. And again, Arizona State's going to be on the road against Colorado. So it's going to really set up for a really nice last game of the season, right? Where Utah, BYU, and Arizona State, and potentially Houston are all looking to see what happens and who can get in. As of right now, obviously, BYU is the main team that would get in as long as they went out. They control their own destiny. But fun fact, if BYU happens to lose one of their last 2 games, Utah is actually the one that could potentially win that tiebreaker. The 5-way tie for second place is still there, and Utah actually holds the tiebreaker. And it's going to be interesting because BYU be sitting there and saying, hey, we only have 2 losses. BYU has 2 losses. We beat them. How do they hold the tiebreaker? Well, once you factor in everybody else in there, sorry, guys, you get placed in there. So Utah got to be feeling Utah sitting back saying, hey, we only need 1 BYU loss.
That's
just
right.
the 1. And Utah is likely the team that gets in. Arizona State also has a shot at getting in as well. Cincinnati and Houston, they have chances, but it's Cincinnati and Houston, it's a pretty tall task. Even with the Cincinnati win over BYU next week, it'd be pretty tough for Cincinnati or Houston to get in. It will likely either be BYU, Utah, or maybe Arizona State, which would be incredible. Jeremy, anything else you want to say to the people?
Hey, I thought about this when you were saying it earlier. We are in a season that is going to then redefine the way that we reference greatness for our program. We will no longer, outside of nostalgia, be saying since 2008. We'll be saying since 2025. Since that 25 season. That will be the reference point, and that's just how great this team is doing this year. And we ain't done. We got 2 more. We got 2 more games, guaranteed. Probably 3, 4, 5. So. Season's got some gas left in the tank. Could be some really exciting stuff down the pipeline.
Jeremy, you know what's made me feel really great about this season? With the exception of when game day was here, except for that week, nobody has referenced the Crabtree catch.
Ooh, that's really nice to say.
It hasn't been referenced. Nobody's talked about it. Nobody's like, oh, All Tech has the Crabtree catch. We have a team that's good enough to forget the Crabtree catch. This has been my dream for a long time. People, for a long time, I've dreamed of a time where we don't reference the Crabtree catch every 5 minutes. And I get why we did it for game day. That makes sense. We haven't been back since. We haven't had a game since. Yada, yada, yada. I get that. Yeah. That's fine. I'm not complaining here. But outside of that week, it ain't been referenced. And it's been great. So let's keep it going. All right. So for the people's champ, that is Jeremy Gillen. This is your boy, I'll be sure. And you have been listening to the Tortillas and Takes podcast, part of the 1012 network. As always, stay ready, people.